Well, you can.
Cool.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us on Where the Scary Things Are tonight. Can't wait to get into it. Have so many questions. Chris in Spain, first and foremost, well done, man. I loved this movie. I'm watching. I commute to the city and I watch most of my movies on the bus, and I'm literally laughing out loud at some of these scenes. Uh, there's so many questions that I was thinking about as I'm watching it, and the first thing is where did this come from? Because I've been around the Hollywood types, and I've seen that side. Where did this come from? That's my first question to you guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm glad you loved it. I definitely have always had an obsession with poking fun of the fame and the fortune and all these kinds of, stereotypes are so funny to me. And what better one than Hollywood, making fun of that industry, parody, satirizing it just to the 20th degree, especially in this movie. And I kind of just thought it would be really cool to blend that in with, like a traditional horror movie with some monsters and makeup and effects. And I was writing it with a friend of mine, Drew Fortune. I kind of came up with the initial idea, then we collaborated and built it more and more, but it wasn't quite filmable. It wasn't quite ready. And that's where Chris came in and he helped flesh it out to the point where we could finally get it all, on paper enough so that we could have the perfect story, perfect in our minds. And we had a ton of fun writing it and filming it.
Yeah, for sure.
Chris, how did you get in?
Oh yeah, I'll take it.
Go ahead, Chris.
I figured that. So Spain and Drew brought this really wacky, insane kind of monster, like people wearing latex masks in this kind of movie and messing with fame and all of this. But there was a lot of direction kind of missing and structure missing, and that's something that is a little bit more of my strong suit. And simply because I've just been doing this longer than Spain, and I've made a few more movies, and I also came up in the studio system. So there was a lot of material for me. Like when I first moved to Los Angeles, I thought it was so absurd that there was an above the line and below the line. In the budgets, that's what it refers to. But what it really means is you're important and you're not important. And so we thought, just all the all the irony in the industry, and just dealing with some actors that have bad behavior and seeing them
I'm
on
sitting right here, Chris. I'm sitting right here.
Sorry, Jimmy. But yeah, so we just tried to inject as much as we could from our experiences into the script, and then once we kind of figured out what the cream was and how to introduce the cream as a device, then the rest of it just kind of took off.
Well, I'm glad Jimmy jumped in there. Jimmy Duvall, I have so many questions for you. First and foremost, this role, like you played it so well. Double time, right? If you will. But I'm looking at the cast, right, along with your name and C. Thomas Howell, and your chemistry with him was just hilarious. But there's so many great names in this movie, and I look at your resume, right, and I remember obviously watching you in Donnie Darko, and then Independence Day and whatnot. You've gotten to work with so many great actors, right? And then you come into this movie and you get that again. You get these great actors that have these awesome movies that have come out. Do you feel like you always have to put your A game even extra higher each film you do when you get these actors that are just, not that you're not any better than, but you're just always around really brilliant actors, like.
Dude, I mean, you definitely, thankfully it was on movies. Like I think my first big movie was Independence Day. So
yeah,
I was, I think petrified at first
when
I first went into set. But you do, when acting, fortunately, they teach us to compartmentalize. So you can still love these people and look up to them, but at some degree, once you get comfortable rolling, there's always the warm-up phase. Hopefully it's a couple hours, not a couple of days or a couple of weeks. And, making that adjustment to where you're playing with them and you don't think about anything but the work. And then you walk away later and you're like, I just shared the scene with, like Randy Quaid was my dad, and
Yeah.
that was wild. I just did, this is Will Smith, and Bill Pullman, and Jeff Goldblum. Like, this is like, so for me it was like, and that magic hasn't gone away. So I had the same exact experience on this with, I can't believe I'm working with C. Thomas Howell,
Yeah.
and Easterbrook, and James Hong, and Robert Costanzo, and Carrie Finkley, and Ray Wise, and I'm like, which is, in a lot of ways I do what I do. I enjoy working with high caliber actors almost more than the material.
Mhm.
Not saying the material doesn't count, but it does, because it does. But it really is these actors that make it all the more worth it. I feel not so much intimidated, but I feel, and I've always kind of felt this, that when I'm in a company with actors like that, then I don't really have to worry, because they kind of help you bring your A game,
Mhm.
as long as you do your homework. So they make you look good. It was something I've heard a couple of actors say. They surround themselves with other amazing actors, much better than them. So they make them look good.
Or they run you over with a car.
Yeah, I mean, no. Fortunately, not that I can recall that's happened to me lately.
So, what made you take this role in particular?
I mean, it was a combination of a couple of things. I really loved the script. I thought the script was like balls to the wall, crazy, and push the boundaries a little bit. And I've always kind of been interested in movies that do that. I love the fact that they had C. Thomas Howell and James Hong and Robert Costanzo, and so they already had solidified a really strong group of actors, and Leslie Easterbrook. And then I think finally was the opportunity to play a couple of different roles in the same movie. I played a character who's one thing and then reveals himself to be something else at the end, but I haven't really got to play two different characters on the same screen before. So that was a first for me, and I really enjoyed doing that, especially since they're so polar opposites. So it's like, in a way, I saw, what I loved about the script is I thought I was kind of playing three roles, really. So there's Huckle Saxton, then there's Michael, and then there's Michael pretending to be Huckle Saxton.
And then there's Michael as Beast.
As the Beast. Yeah,
right. But it was brilliant, man. And I really enjoyed it. I thought, one of the best parts was when you're with James Hong and C. Thomas Howell, you're sitting there just smiling. And I got to ask about that. I mean, was Spain and Chris like, were they like looking at you like, okay, just keep your smile, just keep the smile? How did that scene go?
We had to be really particular if I moved my face, which I had a couple times, because the thing is, it's really hard to keep a straight face or a permanent smiling face, a permagrin with James Hong, because that guy he does the scene. Not only does he nail it, but he ad-libs stuff differently each take. So it's just try not to break out of that, which I think I did a couple times. It's just, I couldn't help it. Like, he's like, he smiled at me. He's laughing at me.
I remember I saw him in San Diego Comic-Con, and they did the screening out at the Padre Stadium, and they brought James Hong out to the film to honor him with another actor. I forgot who it was, but they were on the baseball field. And he just started running the bases, and like, no, you can't do that. But he was running the bases.
He's a spry man. Yeah, and and from my memories, recalling him, from early as Blade Runner all the way up to Balls of Fury and all the present
Balls
stuff.
of Fury, yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, he's also crosses genres. I mean, I trying to recall the movie I'd seen it in the theater, because we saw everything in the theater in the 80s. But he did this movie, which I remember. I'm like, hey, is that the guy from Blade Runner? Is he some detective who's like a heroin addict who just OD'd? Whoa, James Hong is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
Awesome,
a big
man.
dramatic film. It was a big movie in the 80s. I'm trying to remember the name
Twilight
of it.
Zone. I mean, he's on
Big
Twilight Zone.
Big Trouble in Little China. I mean,
Well, yeah.
Yeah, oh, I
oh,
mean,
it's so
You
many.
will not put
Yeah,
on this
Lil
earth
Pan.
to seek Mr. Burton. So to be with
His
Low
laugh.
Pan, yeah.
I'm
His
dying.
laugh in Big
Okay.
Trouble, like, oh, he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah, and it was one of, there's a lot of fun scenes to shoot, but that really was a fun shoot.
Yeah.
That scene and that particular day. And that was, I'd seen Weekend at Bernie's 5 times in the theater, so that was easily my homage to Terry Hatcher and Bernie Lomax and
Yeah,
Weekend
yeah.
at Bernie's. And I'd always, so I'd always kind of played around with that just as a kid out of fun, because I loved the movie so much in the 80s when it came out. I think it came out in like 89 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
89.
Yep.
Yeah, because I saw I worked as a usher at the theater at the time. Believe it
Oh,
or not.
wow.
So that's why I could go to the movies. I was there all the time. And the thing that was amazing, let's get back to the interview real quick, but a little brief bit of trivia. So in the late 80s, when I was a theater usher, the theaters would get all the film reels on Thursday night, and they had to screen each movie once to make sure those reels worked. So I got to see whatever came out the night before it came out. At least one of them.
Damn.
That's
Funny enough, this is so weird. I used to work at the theater, and that's the first time I saw Independence Day. We saw it the Thursday screening.
When they had
All world, right?
They have to check those film reels so they make sure that it doesn't like jog up during the middle of a screening.
Yep, and then all the employees got to watch. So I'm going to ask one more question, and I'm going to pass it on over. Chris in Spain, just talk about the casting for this, and you guys had so many great casting. Obviously, between Jimmy and C. Thomas Howell, those are the leads there. How did you guys select the cast?
Well, we wrote we literally wrote Breen for C. Thomas Howell. I'd worked with C. Thomas Howell in the past, and I knew how talented he was because I saw his movies. I grew up watching him. He's one of my favorite actors.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the cool thing about this is the people cast in this film were our favorite, are a group of our favorite actors. Obviously there's more that go in there into that, basket, but, so because I'd worked with Tommy, I knew kind of how to approach him for the role. I knew what he wanted to do. I knew that he knows how funny he is, but he wasn't being given opportunities to be funny. He's always cast as the father or as the, again, the serial killer on Criminal Minds. And
Mm-hmm.
like, he's always like cast as like the mild mannered guy. And then that's something else. So we thought this is going to be a great opportunity for him to pull out those dust off the, comedy chops again. And then from there, again, we went to Jimmy next, and we knew Jimmy was our first choice, and we knew him through mutual friends, and we really hoped after we sat down and hung out with him for a little while, we were like, this is the guy. Like, hopefully he'll do it, And
kidding me? Hopefully they'll take me.
and it literally it started with those two, and then I'd worked with Leslie in the past, who we are monster fans of, and we love Leslie. And we just got lucky with James Hong and Ray Wise. We literally reached out.
We didn't know who to choose for Trammell if we hadn't have gotten Ray, because Ray was in our minds Trammell Steadfast. That's who we wanted to use for that role. And I'm sure we would have found somebody, but it just wouldn't have been as impactful as Ray Wise. That was just such a fun day. And we had a blast with him. But then some of the other roles like, Finnegan, the ZMT guy.
Yeah.
Teddy, we had worked with Teddy before on some comedies.
He made us cry. He made us cry laughing on set on another movie, and we just were like, "This has got to be the guy wheeling around in a wheelchair."
We cry laughing on this set too.
Oh no! Everybody did.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of fun working with him. I think we thought like Finnegan is Teddy, and we'll just tell him in a week or two, and he'll say yes. So we were just,
But it was crazy too, Ken. I'll say one other thing. Like, we got such great talent to play, like Isabella, who plays the witch, the woman in the beginning making the potion. I can go down the list. Alana, who played Flex, is Huckle's wife, who's a lunatic, Hollywood wife, and Alana was amazing. So we just got things just kind of came together, and it was pretty. We even had Tony Todd. Thanks to Jimmy and working really hard with his people. Tony was like, okay, I'll join you guys. Why not? This seems insane. Jimmy's doing it. You guys are pretty nice, blah, blah. We just couldn't get the timing worked out, but he was committed to doing it too.
Wow.
The scheduling fell apart because of scheduling.
Yeah.
He's a busy man. He's always doing something. Yeah.
We will work with him in the future for sure.
Yeah. Intimidating. That's what we wanted, He's intimidating.
Well, speaking of intimidating, I'm going to pass you over to Chris, the creature. Go back and listen to the show. He did a brilliant review. He reviews all the movies that we watch in detail.
Nice.
So, Chris, go ahead and take it away, my friend.
Yeah, I loved it. It's, you look at this as a comedy, and we're all having a good time, and we're all laughing. But if you look at it in another way, it is a brutal study of an industry. And I don't want to rag on the stereotypical Hollywood industry, because we can all learn something and look in ourselves with this. But boy, I tell you, I mean, I don't think you guys are going to make any enemies, because it's always somebody else you're talking about. But, maybe it's a riveting character study presented as a comedy. So I think it gives a lot of people an opportunity to look at themselves and say, am I really who I want to be? Was there any motive on your part to present this as a perhaps an elixir to an industry badly in need of one?
Oh yeah, I think so. That's really funny because, you know, I think a lot of people really do get to LA and they're you know, they're not anything like they're, you know, perceived to be possibly later. But I'm telling you, you start working with these people and you start rubbing off on you and you become a bad person, you know, and it's pretty easy to succumb.
Yeah, and I would say that I just think it's a healthy reminder in any industry when you go really deep into it, and especially an industry that's as competitive as something like the film world, the film industry, Hollywood. It is, as they say, a small town, and a lot of, you know, people know each other. People know each other, what skeletons are in the closet, that kind of stuff. And the more you spend in the world, you just kind of have to make a decision. Like, I'm not going to let myself go the bad way that some of these guys like Harvey, like the wine, you know, I'm not like, you can, and that's really what I think what the movie, and I really love your assessment, Chris. It's extremely astute, and you give us a lot more credit. You give us a lot more credit than we probably deserve for it. But we definitely wanted that. You know, my favorite line in the film is, you know, you either help people or you harm people in this life, and it's really boils down to that simple. You're either, you know, there's a little bit of gray in all of us at times, and we can go either way. And I think Michael is kind of the barometer for the conscience of the film, is in he returns to himself. So yeah, I think we definitely did our best to get that across without banging people over the head with it, and make it part of the you know, the A storyline, so that it would be digested and have a little heart, add a little heart to the film.
Yeah, I feel that poignancy that lies in the center of it is what gives the movie a lot of heart, actually, because in the midst of this craziness and this wackiness, there's something meaningful underneath all that. And then you have this character Michael, who's a product of his environment. It's why he's such an innocent, sweet, you know, kind of pure soul.
Yeah.
Is able to escape from that kind of corruption and from the cream, with help, of course, of others, you know, while others we see so easily succumb to that, just like in everyday life.
You know, I think your portrayal of Michael gives this whole theme credibility, especially how it's presented, because not everybody was slashed and criticized in a biting way. Because you're right, Jimmy, you portrayed somebody who was very sweet, somebody who was very innocent. He's and I use the term endearing, he's a schmuck, like somebody we know. Yeah. And when he first meets this psycho wife, he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I want to treat you well. I want to understand your needs." And they've never heard of this. That was just priceless.
That scene, you know, even I would say writing that scene.
Story of my life, gentlemen. They never believe it. Never believe it.
I mean, writing that scene, I never knew Jimmy would, and he's here, so it's fun to say it now. I never had any idea how actually dopey and naive he would come off in that scene. Like, it was so, I mean, even when Breen squeals away before he goes, he's like, "Thanks, Breen," as, you know, dust is blowing in his face from the tires, from, you know, the guy that's thrown him into the lions, basically. And you know, and yeah, so, and Jimmy going into the room and just responding to Alana's crazy dialogue, and you know, it was so fun.
Oh man.
You know, I mean, it's the experience of, like, you know, it was the same thing. And you first come to this town and you given a big opportunity like that. You know, if they're like, "Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to light you on fire and I'm going to throw you off the bridge, but, you know, it's going to be like 50 feet high and everyone's going to see it." And you're going to be like, "Oh, this is amazing." Oh! And you come up and you're bandaged up and you're like, no, I'll heal, man. By the time the movie comes out, I'll heal. And, you know, you'll see that's going to be me. Awesome.
Oh my God.
I had those moments.
Oh, yeah, man.
I really
back and being like, I was happy about that. They're like, "Gone in 60 seconds. Hey, you're the dude who got the key in the shit." I'm like, "Well, hey."
That's
Someone's gonna
right.
You right?
I appreciate when schmucks are treated well, and being a schmuck myself, so I
Yes.
thank you for that. And one more,
I very much am a schmuck myself. That's where it comes from. Is
schmucks will eventually rule the world. It might not happen yet, but eventually.
No,
So
yeah. I mean,
far-
I'm still single now, and I think the last one was like, "You're too nice. You're just too nice." So
My mother likes
whatever
Yeah.
they believe it or not, they keep saying it. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable. It's like, what am I supposed to shit on a plate and throw it at you, and then you're gonna keep going out with me?
Well,
Yeah,
well, I
but
mean-
you do that and you go, here you go, ma'am. When you
Yeah, they're like-
ma'am, it kills the whole thing. So
Right, yeah, that's right. Keep it
Like,
friendly.
smell it.
And I got to give you guys credit. When the monster comes, you don't just slash and strangle. You rip out intestines and strangle another babe with those intestines. The Kimchi and Carla scene. Heart is
full Mortal Kombat,
what a classic scene. And you guys could have done a whole lot less and it would have been fine. But no, you went the extra mile. I mean, you actually took this babe's intestines, strangled this one with it, and then went back to the other one. I was just in heaven. I mean, if you read my blog, this is like religious stuff.
Well, we wanted more gore, but we did what we had some
Yeah, that's
fun
all
with it.
Spain and Chris. It's basically I show up to set and then they go through the blocking. All right, Jimmy. So what you're gonna do is when you turn into the beast, you're gonna rip out her intestines, and with her intestines, you're gonna reach over her, and then you're gonna strangle her with it. And so all I get to really do is be like, "This is freaking cool, man." You came up with it, but I get to do it.
I mean, I got to be honest. Most movies that wouldn't have been Jimmy Duvall. That would have been someone else in makeup doing that.
Yeah.
But he was in the makeup doing that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was. He. I can't say enough. I'm glad Spain said that. I can't say enough about it because the scene was already wacky enough, and that blood was in that trailer, I guess, for 4 years trying to clean it up.
It was.
They said that's what they told
Sorry
Spain.
about that. I got a little carried away.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. It's a good thing. We wanted more blood. More. That's the question. If anyone ever says, hey guys, more blood? The answer is always yes. So
yes.
Oh man, we had a few gags that required
intestines.
gallons, but Beast Mode 2, it's all
I
good.
mean, it really, well, I remember I was doing an interview earlier, and they were asking me what the difference between doing a horror movie and a regular movie is, and I was like, buckets of blood. Buckets of blood. There's never enough blood in a horror film.
Yeah.
In a regular movie, it's like, no, don't even put a drop of blood. We can't match that continuity. It's like,
Right.
in a horror movie, like, we don't have to because we
everything is covered in blood.
And it's very easy for directors to just say, you know what? In post, we'll make it look great and we'll add all the blood we want. But we all know, even in 2020, it still doesn't look that great. Even when it does, you can still tell. So we're all about practical on-set effects.
And we're all about that here, man. We praise you for that for sure.
And
Awesome.
actors too, we praise you for letting us play like that, because like having the tools and the props and the toys really helps lends itself to making those scenes a lot more believable and a lot, there's much more to build on, Yeah, and we've certainly seen those movies where like, let's pretend that the background's something and that the blood is something and that you're holding something. And that you're actually wearing clothes and not just like this green jumpsuit in a green room with the green floor.
Well, thank you guys. Well done. And instead of hogging up the entire show, I'm going to let Ken pass it off to either Omar or Lori.
We're gonna go to Horo. We're gonna go to Horo next.
Sweet.
Tonight. I guess I just want to follow up with what you guys just said with all three of your comments. It obviously seems you guys are big horror fans if you want buckets of blood and so forth like that. So you made a movie and you mentioned making it a Hollywood statement and making a statement on that, but you brought horror into it. So kind of talking about how you developed that and how you brought in the monster and your ideas about incorporating that with your statement on Hollywood.
I think growing up watching all these 80s horror movies, that was my life. I mean, I think it was a lot for Chris as well. But, growing up in the VHS age, hanging out at these video stores and mostly hanging out in the horror section and just going through the filmographies of my favorite directors like Stuart Gordon and Frank Henenlotter, of course, Lynch and Cronenberg and Carpenter, Craven, Romero. they always had these social commentaries in the subtext that I was a little too young to understand. And as I got older and rewatched them, I started seeing these themes, and I started writing short stories and thinking to myself, it's not just about these climax moments of gore. It's about getting there in a way that really makes you think. Instead of just 90 minutes of mayhem, I think people are going to watch Beast Mode and go, that had a fun little message, and it also was a lot of fun to watch. So that's the hope.
Yeah, and I would say too, I think that, along with what Spain said, a huge fan of all those directors, Carpenter being probably the one that always just, it doesn't matter what is on. If it's a Carpenter film and I'm walking past a screen, I'll stop and keep watching it, even if it's over someone's shoulder on a plane. I'm like completely inappropriately between the seats, like, I'm like, look, Carpenter, So I just love, so I feel the same way. And I think with what Spain said, Poltergeist was probably the film that I saw at the earliest where I knew it wasn't just about the ghosts and about this bad evil, but also about like dishonoring this burial site. Like I understood there was more to the film than, again, just the scares and the super cool effects at the time. Stranger Things could say thank you to that team. But anyway, so it's one of those things where we've Spain and I met, and it just it's like finding a long lost brother. Same thing with Jimmy. I mean, it's just like kindred spirits. We all want to make something scary, but we also want to laugh, and we want to make sure it looks good, and that again, that we treat the horror with respect, and to the fact that not just for fans, because we're fans, we're more fans than we are anything else, of course. Yep. And we just wanted, we really, really wanted that if we would have watched this movie and we didn't make it, if we stepped it back and said, okay, that we would have enjoyed the zaniness of it, from like the Police Academy spirit of comedy and Weekend at Bernie's style comedy to, again, the horror, the American Werewolf in London kind of element as well. So.
Like that. And like I said, like Chris said, that ending there and a lot of the guts coming out and just all that at the end. We always enjoy that. So, that's just a credit to you guys for putting that together. I'm kind of curious if so you brought a lot of veteran actors into this as well, but did they have, they didn't really get too involved with, well, not all of them get too involved with some of that gore and stuff, but did they know what you guys were going to do, and were they all down for that? And what did they think of that afterwards?
Yeah,
I think
Chris,
it's safe
please.
to say that Jimmy was the champion, the like leaps and bounds. If there were gold medals to give out for being like, I'm ready to go, guys, doesn't put more blood, whatever you need, the mask. Because I know, Jimmy, you had an issue with a little rash, right? From the latex at one point.
Yeah, or no, I think to give Michael the scars.
To give him the scarification, that's what it was. Yeah. So yes, Jimmy, but Omar, I'll tell you this, C. Thomas Howell is a sly actor, and he's smart. So he found every way he could to get out of having the blood all over him.
Yeah.
Completely. Like it's like, and he's a director too. So Tommy knows, he's kind of like, well, you could always do this. Would you want to do this instead? That way I'd be clean and ready to shoot right when you're so it was kind of funny. But I would say for the most part, we didn't get any pushback. I mean, we had one of our executive producers, Bobby, he's the guy who gets his arm ripped off. So we showed no favoritism at all. We tried to kill everybody that was involved in the film and get blood everywhere.
There were a few effects moments that we wanted to push further, but there's only so many hours, and setup is hard, and setup for lighting and the effects just takes a long time. And you also have to get your story and your plot in there. So there was a few moments that could have even gone a little bit more extreme that were written, especially for Teddy Finnegan's death. But we will be doing more. We will be doing some the craziest, I'll say it here, the craziest things you've ever seen as far as practical, I'm going to try to come up with for the follow-up, if we can manage to do a sequel, which we would love to do. As long as it's TOO. Beast Mode TOO. It's got to be TOO.
Jimmy, I just wanted to know if you want to throw anything on top of that as far as your adventures there in the makeup and doing all that, and how it compared to maybe, some of your other work that you've done.
Well, I was looking forward to, for me, I wanted to be in the monster makeup too. Again, being a fan of the genre of all film genres really, and the opportunity to play different characters. So the Beast being really the fourth and final character was certainly something I didn't want to miss out on. It's kind of the joy, you could think at times it can be kind of difficult to get into makeup sometimes to work with blood, but it's kind of like also when you go on an adventure, you go on an outdoor outing with your friends, and like at first maybe you don't want to do it, and then once you get your what they call get your feet wet, you go crazy. You're like, yeah, I'll jump. He just flips off that 5-story cliff into the lake. And so it's kind of the same idea. It's like literally jumping off a bridge and going for it. I'd like to almost equate it like, which is a testament to the directors, when I was a kid, I remember my mom telling me I couldn't hang out with certain people because they were a bad influence. And she would say, well, if they're going to go jump off a bridge, you're going to jump off a bridge. And I used to be like, yeah, just to rebel, And then as I got older, what I realized is that I wanted to work with the type of directors that if they said jump off a bridge, I'd jump off the bridge. I wouldn't have to question, is it safe? Is it dangerous? If they go jump off the bridge, it's like, you got it. Woo! Because I know that 1, it's safe. 2, it's going to rock. 3, it's going to serve the film. And, I like to think of my directors as like captains of the ship sailing us to a certain destination. And so if we're going to go on this destination, then we have to need to have full faith and competence in our filmmakers, in our captains. And so when they were like, "Oh, you want to get in the makeup and you want to get bloody?" It's like, "Do you tell me when to stop?" That's about it. I'll jump off that bridge because I want it to be the best it can be. And that's also the joy of kind of making movies, really. Is in a situation like this, no one's going to yell at me for jumping off a bridge because someone else told me to. They're going to pay me for it.
Yeah, a lot of actors would go, let's do it. Prosthetics, applications, I'm all for it. And then an hour and a half, 2 hours and a half in, they're like, maybe we can get a double next time, because they're all about it. They're reading about it. Yeah, I've always wanted to. But Jimmy never did that. I mean, it took a while.
Cool. I mean, you guys saw the Beast, right? And the fingers and the design of it. And even to have the mask on, you go in front of the mirror and, and you hear about this. It's like a very famous story with Roddy McDowall in Planet of the Apes, like learning to do certain facial movements gave expressions that weren't identical to the expressions he made underneath the mask, but he had to do acting, it was almost mask acting to
yeah.
So it was kind of with that idea in mind, going and seeing, well, if I do this with the mask, will it change the expression? I mean, I think I was I was dark for most of it, but I had gotten and created a routine where I could create expressions with the mask latex on my face by making movements like, and it would slightly tweak as you move underneath. Yeah.
So awesome.
So and it's a cool thing to discover and to learn and to know. So in the chance, in the future, if I get a chance to play creatures again, I have that much more in my repertoire to bring to the table.
And that's the coolest part about, I would say with Jimmy, working with actors like Jimmy, that are willing to go all the way. He plays twins basically in this, and I did another twin. Fortunately for us, I knew how to shoot twins, so it didn't make Jimmy do it over and over and over again because I actually knew how to do it.
Well, it served me well, because I remember one part you're like, okay, after this, we're done with Michael. Like, you don't have to do this Michael with the scars anymore. Is done.
It made my brain want to explode trying to keep track of, can Jimmy get out of makeup? Which Huckle or Michael? I'm like, it's bad enough going, okay, is Jimmy here? And they're like, yeah, he's here, but who do we need? And I'm like, oh, God, dear Lord, I don't know which one we need first. I'm like, Huckle, why not Huckle? Yeah.
My question was going to be about the difficulties of or pulling off a character and doing, having the same actor do too, but I guess you just threw some great insight on that. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know Muse has some great questions for you. So thank you guys.
Thanks
yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys, everybody stole my questions. So I'm going to just, I'm like, oh man, going last bites. Okay. So I'm like, reset. All right. So I'm just gonna start out. There was one they didn't ask. I think we're just all in the same mindset. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. But I loved all the questions. I have been laughing the whole time. I have my microphone on mute or they're just loud ass laughing.
My face hurts. Doesn't your face hurt?
I'm like over here like dabbing in my eyes. There's like tears coming out. I'm like,
Okay, this is good. This is a good day.
All right.
Yes. All right. So I'm just gonna start out with Chris and Spain. And Jimmy too. I mean, I think this may have been kind of like answered in a way, but maybe not. So starting out with Chris and Spain and Jimmy jump in, whatever. What was the most challenging scene to direct or perform during the making of Beast Mode?
Choreographing that fight was a challenge because you have to make sure, with a single camera shoot that we were doing, you got to make sure you get all those fun angles and all those good moments, because we were chatting with another group the other day and they said that in most fight scenes, you get all these fast edits and kind of angles a little bit too skewed and down, and then the fight's over and you're like, what did I just watch? And he thought that you could really see our punches and throws, and it was obviously a lot harder for them than us. We were just rolling, shooting, but that was in the middle of the night with a big crane light, and it was just, for me, Chris has been on a lot of big shoots, but for me, I was like, wow, this is a lot. This is crazy.
Yeah.
That was fun, but it was also very challenging.
Yeah, and I would say that I was literally ready just to collapse, I think, on that day. So as we were shooting that scene, thankfully the stunt team they're such pros. Johnny, the stunt coordinator, and the guys, they made that a lot easier than it would have been if we wouldn't have had such pros. And it'll make it look a lot better. But I would say the party scene was so much chaos, and we shot it all in one night, and it was absolutely bananas. We had Jimmy playing two people, we had C. Thomas Howell, we had makeup, we had people turning into monsters, we had again Robert Costanzo blowing his own brains out, and that gag which we loved. Finally he gets his moment when he finds the guy that and then of course and we had stuff planned for Teddy. Teddy was so Finnegan, the ZMT guy, he was going to be grabbed, snatched out of his wheelchair, thrown into the sky. We had the plan, we had everything. He was going to be harnessed and pulled into the sky, and then when he hit the ground, blood buckets. We were going to throw buckets of blood all over everybody in the crowd, as if he exploded like a water balloon of blood. And and Teddy was all for it. And he couldn't wait to do it, which is insane. But so I would say there's no doubt that was the most difficult, because I knew if we screwed up there, we were going to be missing some serious elements to wrap up the story at the climax.
Yeah.
And just like Michael's transformation, it's midnight, I'm still Michael, all of these really important beats, all the storylines kind of all converge on that moment. So that was certainly the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life in filming.
It was beautiful chaos, and I loved it. It was absolutely wonderful. So, Jimmy, what was your most difficult scene? That you would say?
Well, I would have to say it was that very scene, because believe it or not, right before that was actually we'd shot most of the film, and we did that as a pickup later on. And I'd been in Belgium. I was filming on another movie, and then I went to Belgium, and then I got off the plane in Belgium.
Oh yeah.
And I hadn't really slept much in about a week. And I went, you remember that? And then you guys called me to set that day. I wasn't originally going to come until the next day, but it was such a tight schedule that if I didn't come to shoot that night, we wouldn't have fit everything in.
Yeah.
So without much sleep and kind of a month of exhaustion, I went and jumped right in. And then we finished filming those crazy chaotic scenes with both characters of Michael and Huckle and Flex and Robert Costanzo, which was great because I actually still have the video on my phone of when he gets shot in the head.
Wow. That is rad. All right, so I'm going to stay with Jimmy. I have to ask you, I love the movie Donnie Darko. You played Frank the Bunny. I have to ask you about that. What was that like, that whole experience? I loved you in that.
That was that really was a magical experience for me from the moment I read the script. And, you know, I didn't think I was going to get the part, but I read the script and I thought it was this kind of really weird kind of modern day Twilight Zone feature length. And that the Frank the Bunny character was this kind of twisted guardian angel. And I sort of saw him as Harvey, you know, from Jimmy Stewart's Harvey.
Yeah.
And then I went in to get, you know, I ended up getting the part, which I didn't think I was going to get because it was written for 6 feet tall and a blonde. And I'm not 6 feet or blonde. But again, I love the material so much that I delved into it. I read the script probably 7 or 8 times before the audition to make sense of it myself, which it still makes sense to me, I guess, to this day. And then I went in and did the audition and ended up getting the part. And I think, well, you all kind of know the story from there, but really, you know, for me, it was, I still remember, which is actually quite a funny story, going into audition for the movie. And they said, well, you know, whoever plays Frank the Bunny, we don't just want you to be out of the suit, you know, we want you to actually be in the suit and, you know, we want you to be the voice. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because I was going to ask you if I could be in the suit and be the voice, because that means I work more days and I'll make more money. And the guy's got to eat, right?
Yeah.
But I said that to them in the audition.
That's awesome. Well, it was such a memorable scene, and we actually had live tweeted the movie probably about less than a month ago, and we just had a blast with it. So I definitely had to throw that in there.
No, thank you. I mean, it was like, you know, when I went for the wardrobe fitting, I didn't know that he would look. Give me a second, like this. So like I said, I just thought he was like Harvey, and it just came together one by one.
Oh, that is so rad.
Oh man.
They give me this sketch because I'm wearing this bunny outfit. I didn't have the mask, and they go, "This is what you're going to look like." And at that moment, at that moment, it's wardrobe fitting.
Looking at the suit.
Yeah, and I already got the part. The movie just changed again on a whole other dimension. And I have to say that showing up to set on the first day with Jake, and subsequently after that, was a moment like that for the entire shoot, where you would just show up and you're like, wow, this is something going to be special. I think we have something special. And then, to cut a long story short, it came out in the theater. It made $500,000 in 3 weeks. It was a massive box office failure. And then, you know, years later, from word of mouth, we got a second resurgence, and we're thankful for that.
Yep, and I was one of those fans, and maybe the first day I ever went to Jimmy's apartment, he put the original suit in my hands, and I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
That's so awesome.
That is, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's such a phenomenal movie, and you don't really know what's going to happen. And there's lots of twists and turns, and it's crazy. So speaking of crazy, I have to ask you guys, because I'm sure you guys like have a million stories, and I would have loved to be on the set just to see what was going on with all the crazy stuff going on. What would you say is the funniest thing that happened to all of you guys while you were shooting? Like the funniest story that you could think of really quick. I won't hog much more time, but I feel like laughing more. So I'm like, I definitely know there's probably a ton you could choose from. You guys sound like you had a blast making this great film.
I'll say this: the funniest, surprisingly, the funniest day was the day for me. The moment where I was like, "This is absolutely insane." And I had to like kind of step away from myself for a second and just be like, appreciate the fact that I was making this movie with these actors, was when Leslie Easterbrook was saying some lines that I wasn't sure she was going to say at the salon. And, you know, like her like line where she's like, I know 2 things. And then she's like, there's just dialogue that we just were certain that the actors were going to go, look, this is too far. I put a line through this one. Sorry, I won't do that. Even though we read it, I read the script and we know. And so just kind of seeing everyone suddenly just take, you know, her playing Zelda and going straight into this like sultry former, you know, everything she was and in the world of beast mode, meaning this makeup artist who, you know, owns her own salon and has all this and is just a tough broad who's seen everything in the industry and nothing surprises her about people being addicted on drugs and anything else, you know. And seeing her and C. Thomas Howell do that and watching them deliver the line that we knew was setting up the cream. I would say that and the dog. Everything with Mr. B's, we couldn't stop laughing. Like we could barely shoot it. We could barely shoot it when the dog was in the car poking its head up and down. And we literally couldn't. I remember I was standing there and I knew we weren't going to use any of the sound because we had to replace, obviously, dog audio and the trainers telling the dog, the owners telling the dog. But it was just one of these moments. It was so surreal, and everything the dog did was funny. So that was probably it for me.
Oh my goodness.
I gotta agree with the dog. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Working at this day at the porn shop was pretty weird because that was an actual porn shop, and there was a few things that I would be like, "What is?" And some gaffer would be like, "You never seen that before?" And it was weird. It was a weird porn shop. There was some weird gag gifts in there that I cannot even on this podcast tell you guys.
Wow.
Well, I know. I was like, "Where are we?" Oh, I know where we are.
Yeah.
Out pretty quickly.
Yeah, that day I had a hard time keeping a straight face that day. The Jergens hand cream in the middle of the sex shop, all over the face, and
Just awesome.
Hey, Mom, you like my movie? Yeah.
Well, and I'll add to what Spain said with the shop. It was pretty hysterical when the crew, who had no idea, the crew doesn't always read the script.
Right.
The department heads, of course, do. But in Los Angeles, people replace each other every few days when there's a better gig. That's, hey, I'm getting on a studio gig for 4 months. Like, sorry guys, I got to go.
Right.
But I've replaced myself with another really awesome, person at this specific skill set. And so we had people that didn't know what movie they were on showing up to work, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! What is this movie again?"
Right.
And they're like, "What is this place?" And and obviously we want to be respectful, and there are it was really just madness, but it was a lot of fun.
No, it's great. It's a good sign when your crew comes to you and they say, "Do you know where I can get a copy of this script? What are we making? This is weird.
Wow.
I have to know what we're making." Yeah.
Right. It just came out beautifully. I loved it. And Mr. B's, I'm so glad you guys brought that up. It actually slipped my mind. His little outfits throughout the movie were pajamas, and yeah, I was like, yes, the dog has his own wardrobe here. Loving it.
Everyone says don't work with animals, but that one was awesome. She did everything.
He's like a good dog. Was it a girl or a boy?
It was a girl in real life. It played a guy, but yeah, it was a very fun whippet to hang out with.
Yeah, and our
Very sweet.
And Katie, who did the wardrobe, she obviously those were all hand sewn, hand created, all the outfits, and it really all originated from again, I'm obsessed with putting dogs in movies. Spain loves dogs in movies. We agreed on it immediately, but I just kept thinking how funny it would be to see that dog in like Prison Orange, and at the end of the film, and there's nothing like matching prison outfit anyway. So that was a lot of fun too.
The whole movie is fun. I remember my husband is like on the couch half asleep. He like sat up. He's like, "What are we watching?"
Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
What are we watching?
You can't handle this. Go back to sleep.
That's the tagline on the DVD.
Yes. It was so good. I loved it. Anything where somebody's going to sit up and be like, "What is happening right now?" And I loved it. I loved every second. Great movie, guys.
Awesome to hear.
I'm amazed. It's amazing. Maybe just because I've been so busy off, once the actor walks off set, we're done with the job. But I'm so happy that you guys all saw it, and even happier that you guys like it.
Loved it. Yeah.
So much fun. And like I said, I could talk all night, but I don't want to hog everything and have us here for 3 hours. So I'm going to turn you back over to Ken. You guys are a blast. I've been laughing all evening. And let me get my Kleenex, dry my eyes. And I just had a blast. You guys are so awesome.
Nice. Thank you.
Well, we're not done yet, though. We're not done yet. So on our show, our bread and butter is we do horror trivia. So you guys, between the three of you, got to do the horror trivia. Okay.
All
so
right.
we have we make it really easy. We try to. It's up to Muse, but between Chris, Horo, and I, we don't know the questions Muse is going to ask you. She's the only one that knows. You can ask either one of us for help one time each. You can ask for multiple choice from Muse, or you can postpone a question if you want to. Maybe you have it on the tip of your tongue, or you guys want to, postpone it. But there's 3 of you. You guys should be fine. Go ahead, Muse. Take it away. 13 questions. Last one's worth 2 points.
Good number.
All right. Yeah. Lucky 13.
Deathly 13. Camp
Yeah.
Crystal Lake.
Right.
Jersey represent.
Yeah. So I'm going to start you off with a warm-up question, actually, and it's still going to count, just to kind of start everything off, kind of like Ken said it was easy, so I got to kind of. I'm going to throw in an easy one here. So I'm going to give you a true or false for the first question. So this is going way, 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 way back to classic horror with the Phantom of the Opera from 1925, and I'm going to ask you true or false. The Phantom of the Opera from 1925 was originally released as a silent film. True or false?
I think true.
I'm gonna say true.
Yeah, I don't think the talkies came in like that. They weren't that big yet.
That is correct. It was a silent film. That is
All
true.
right.
All right. I was like, who's gonna be the person who shouts out the answers? So just like anytime you guys just go ahead and shout it out, or
Wait.
All right.
Yeah.
don't even let me finish the question. If you're like, look, this is embarrassing. Just like this.
All right.
All right. All right. Second question. In the movie Seed of Chucky from 2004, what pop star does Chucky run off the road?
Britney Spears?
Yes, it was Britney Spears. I'm like, wait a minute, how did I miss that? Somehow I'm like, wait a minute, I got to go back and watch this.
I gotta watch it too.
You don't really get to
I don't
see her,
remember
but
that.
You get to hear her, and she goes off of like Kareem.
Oh my God, I love it. All right. Question 3. In the remake of Child's Play from 2019, what brand of doll is Chucky? Now, he's not a good guy.
Well, that's a good question.
That's a good question. I'm gonna call for guys. I want to call for help unless one of you
We
know
need
it.
some multiple choice.
Multiple choice.
Multiple choice. Was it best friends, pals, or buddy?
I think Buddy. Chris?
I don't know, man. I think maybe best friends. I don't know.
That's a tough one.
I like the first answer. I like the buddy answer.
I like
There we
Buddy.
go.
All right, we're gonna go with Buddy. We're gonna go with Buddy.
It's buddy.
Thanks, Muse. There we go.
They were called buddy dolls. All right.
Nice.
Dolls.
That sounded familiar.
Good job, Jimmy, and not saying anything and let them working it out. I like it.
Have this scrappy.
Take that one. I'm embarrassed that I haven't had a chance to see that.
Don't be embarrassed. You're not missing anything.
Especially, well, Tomo, who I did Sushi Girl with, I watch anything he does.
Yep.
Voice to Chucky.
All right. Question 4. So in the movie Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane from 2016. This is actually multiple choice the way it's designed. So this is kind of like, just go ahead and chime in if you, whichever answer you want to choose. In what direction does the protagonist Michelle drive at the end of 10 Cloverfield Lane? Baton Rouge to safety or Houston to fight? I just ruined the whole movie for a lot of people, but
Hey, buddy.
I think it's B. I do. I think it's B.
You think it's Houston to fight?
I do.
Let's get some help from Omer. Are you sure about it, Spain? Come on, we can't miss any.
I know, Jimmy. I
always
think
trust
it
your
is
first.
B.
Wait, Spain.
I think
Always
all
trust
right,
your
Spain's
first
right.
instinct. Always trust your first
There we
instinct.
go.
You gotta go with your gut.
Houston to fight.
Houston to fight is correct.
All
Nice.
right.
Right. I was like,
Nice.
come on, don't doubt yourself. You got it. You got it. All right.
Say final answer when you guys, unless Muse detours you in other
Yeah,
ways.
right. Okay. Final answer. I got it.
All right. Question 5. In the Scream movie franchise series that ran from 1996 to 2011, what is the name of the in-universe film series based on the events of the Scream series? The meta movie within a movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember. I think it's Stabbed.
It's Stab. It's
Ah, Jimmy got it. Jimmy
Jimmy's
got
got
it. Good save, Jimmy. Good
I
stuff.
remember it. I just,
Final
like,
answer, stab.
He said it. I was like, "That's it."
Like he kept going stabbed. Love it.
Way to be a Frank the Bunny there and just coming for the save.
All right. Question 6. In the movie Final Destination 3 from 2006, tanning beds caused the demise of how many characters?
Oh yeah, that was definitely 2 girls who were best friends who were almost fully nude in that scene.
Nice.
And their drinks fell down and got into the electricity, and they couldn't get out of the tanning bed, and the
They
dude
just
was on the
burned alive.
phone in the back, and they fried.
I love
Yes.
it.
It was 2. And I love the whole scene recreation because
Yeah.
I think that's another one of my favorite kills and deaths in Final Destination. Excellent. All right, going back to a little more classic to the late 70s with the Amityville Horror, the original Amityville Horror. In the movie Amityville Horror from 1979, which character becomes obsessed with cutting firewood?
Chris,
Well, we know
I'm the firewood, but geez,
Chris, I believe it's the lead.
it's the father,
the
but
father.
yeah, the father.
I'll take that, Muse.
Is
I
that
don't
good?
remember
Is that
his name.
acceptable?
Yes,
Father
that's acceptable.
Amityville.
Yeah, I'll take it, Muse. I'll take it.
All right.
It
Was it
was
Josh Brolin?
that was the remake. That was the
That was
remake.
your thinking, yeah.
His
No,
what-
Josh Brolin.
Yeah, actually, James Brolin was in the original.
James
Sorry,
Brolin.
James Brolin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, Josh Brolin wasn't in the remake. That was Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan
but
Reynolds.
yeah,
Ryan
it was
Reynolds.
Brolin.
That's
It was
it.
Brolin.
I
James
didn't see the
Brolin. That's
remake.
what I was trying to
It was
say.
Brolin. Yeah, it was George Lutz in the movie, but I would have took any of that.
George Lutz, that's what I
That.
would not have
Close
gotten
enough.
in years.
Yeah.
Woo!
That movie creeped me out when I was a little kid.
Oh, it still creeps me out
it
for sure. All right, so this is another multiple choice for question 8, and just go ahead and shout out the answer when you feel you know it. So in the classic Frankenstein from 1931, since Boris Karloff just had a birthday, I had to do a Frankenstein question. In Frankenstein from 1931, the brain of the monster in Frankenstein is obtained from which of the following places? Graveyard, university, prison, or morgue?
University.
I love the confidence there.
He sounds confident.
That's it. It's university. Yeah, abnormal
I
brain.
don't remember.
Abnormal
Yes.
brain.
Yes.
And
All
young Frankenstein.
right.
And my
He
favorite
took the
is-
wrong one. He was supposed to take the other one. He took the
Yeah,
wrong
well,
brain.
yeah. My favorite is in Young Frankenstein when he's got the good one and oopsie, and then he takes the other. So good.
That is correct. It is university.
Very
All right.
cool.
You guys are jamming. All right. Question 9. In the movie The Woman in Black from 2012,
Uh-oh.
what Harry Potter franchise alum portrayed the character of Arthur Kipps?
Daniel. Harry
I-
Potter played him.
We'll take that. Daniel
I'll take
Radcliffe.
that. That's what that's
He said Daniel. He said
Yeah.
Daniel.
Nice.
Daniel Radcliffe. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Radcliffe, right.
Nice one, bro.
There you go. All right.
Dead farting soldier.
Great. Going. So we're in question 10. In the movie Fright Night from 1985,
Oh,
which character is turned into a vampire out of the group of friends? Charlie Brewster, Judy Brewster, that's actually his mom, Evil Ed, or Detective Lennox?
Evil
Ed.
Ed.
Evil Ed, yeah. It's
Evil
Evil
Ed.
Ed. All right.
We are fans of that. Hey, I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
right here.
Oh, rad. Look at that.
That is awesome. Oh, I'm just like gonna not fangirl out now at that. Okay.
I love how we just went
Stay
like.
on topic.
So Jimmy in Spain has showed us something. Chris, no pressure, okay?
No, hey, I've got mine waiting literally right here. If there's a question, I've been waiting for it right there. Halloween.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, man, the one week I probably don't even have a Halloween question. Every other week. All right. And question 11. In the and if you don't know this one, I bet Horo knows it. Up there, Omar.
No pressure.
No
Omar.
pressure, Omar. He's like, oh God, no. All right. Question 11. So in the TV series American Horror Story, which rock and roll Hall of Fame songstress cameos as a real witch in a particular season of American Horror Story?
Stevie Nicks.
Yeah. all right.
Nice.
I never assume everybody's watching as much TV as I am. It's like,
What
I'm
else are we gonna do?
I thought it was cool.
It's
I was like, oh my
2020,
god,
everybody's home watching TV.
Nick's on there and is a witch. That is perfect casting.
Yes, it was. All right. Question 12. All right. In the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose from 2005, what actress portrayed the character of Emily Rose? She was on Dexter.
Oh, I think
I
we
can
need.
see
I
her
think we need
face.
Ken's help. We need Ken's help on this one. I
We
think.
need a little bit of a hand.
That would be the amazing, beautiful Jennifer Carpenter.
That would be correct.
Oh yeah, that's right. I can
That's
see her
right.
face.
Yeah.
Nice. Good save,
Oh.
Ken.
For
Good
Carpenter.
save, Ken.
Good one.
All right,
man.
question 13 is worth 2 points. You guys can go 14
All
for
right,
13.
we have to get this.
Yeah.
We missed the
It's
last
actually
one.
it's a true or false. I
Okay.
didn't know how everybody's gonna be doing by this point. So I was like, let's just kind of like ease them into this last question. All right. In the movie Happy Death Day, true or false? The character of Lori tries to give the character of Teresa a poisoned cupcake. True or false?
Spain. I haven't seen it.
So you can ask Omar and you can ask.
Oh, we still can
Chris.
ask. Okay.
I think I did see it, but I don't really recall that. But I don't want to set myself up.
Exhaust all your,
Yeah, we
your
need
resources.
Omar. We got to ask Omar.
We need a
now.
little Omar help.
Uh-oh.
It's true. I don't know if the characters are true in the way she said it, but there was a poison cupcake there.
Okay, I
which
think
I-
we're gonna lean
which I-
through.
Is it true, Muse?
I think what it is everybody knows Teresa's character is Tree, so that might have threw you off in the movie. But yeah, it's true. It's a poison cupcake.
Oh
That is
wow!
All right. Chris, Spain, and Jimmy, you guys go 14 for 13. Well done. Out of 70, this is our 74th show. I think only 5 or 6 people have done that.
Yeah.
So well done.
Oh, we had a group. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got a little help, but yes,
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
A little bit of help.
Listen, we really appreciate you guys joining the show. I just want to give you guys a quick minute to talk about what you're working on and where can we find you on social media. Chris, we'll start with you.
Okay, great. I'm CWFRMN, which is like my FRMN Freeman. So CWFRMN is at Instagram, and that's where you can find me. That's where I'll be posting. I'll respond. I love it. Would love anybody to reach out if they're interested in anything related to the movie or even movies we talked about that I love here. So I've actually got a handful of things in the pipeline. I just developed a TV series with Sean Reddick, the executive producer of Get Out, based on a bestseller. And we're really excited about that. So hopefully something's going to happen with that soon. And obviously Spain and I are hard at work planning Beast Mode 2, TOO, where the Cream, instead of Hollywood, which we thought this is like the worst place. If the Cream gets loose, these people will turn into horrible monsters because they're so rotten inside. Then we realized Washington, D.C. is like a way more fertile ground for the worst people on the planet. And
Nice.
So the Cream's going to get loose. It'll be Mr. Smith Goes to Washington meets American Werewolf in London. That's what that'll be for.
I love it. Oh, wow. Spain, what do you got, my friend?
Yeah, so Beast Mode the movie on Facebook. I handle that, and we will be posting more and more as the film comes out on VOD, Amazon, Walmart, physical, DVD, Blu-rays coming, all the usual VOD sites. It should be Beast Mode should be out on the 1st of December in a week or so, and then Beast Mode the movie on Twitter. Beast Mode the movie on Facebook, like I mentioned. And then, as far as upcoming, like Chris mentioned, we're going to be working on Beast Mode 2 in DC. And I've got a anthology horror movie of 3 tales, all very different from each other, that I'm working on that I want to do here in Georgia, because I left California to come back to the East Coast just recently for the first time in almost 20 years. And now Chris is back over here. So we want to get going in 2021 on some of those.
Right on, man. And to wrap it up, Jimmy, what do you got going on, man?
Well, I've been fortunate to be working. I mean, not through the quarantine, but right before and then right after the quarantine drop. So I have a couple pilots. I just finished with Michael Madsen. One's called For Nothing. Another one's called The Detective. And then I did this movie I'm really looking forward to showing you all very soon called I Challenger, where I play a 40-something-year-old gamer who sells marijuana to underage kids. And
Nice.
direction in my life, I realized that I need a little bit of luck, and what better way to find my luck than to bury myself under 24 hours underground under a 24-hour self-supervised burial challenge. And put it on YouTube, stream it for all of you to watch. So you should stay tuned because anything can happen. And
Wow.
anything does.
Jesus.
And I'll leave it at that. And that's I Challenger.
Right on. And where can we find you on social media? I'm sure we can just type
Yeah,
you
you can find
in.
me on
You're pretty popular.
Twitter, under Real James Duval. Just the way my name's spelled, RealJamesDuval.
Well, Chris Freeman, Spain Willingham, and Mr. Jimmy Duval, thank you so much on behalf of Where the Scary Things Are. We really appreciate it. Listeners, please check out Beast Mode. It is an awesome, fun time. Definitely a breath of fresh air. Lots of gore, lots of laugh, and you get to see Jimmy play 2 awesome roles. Well done, guys. We'll catch you next time. Keep it scary.